All living things need to eat to survive, so food sources are a critical component of wildlife habitat. Native plants form the foundation of the food chain in the natural world and should do the same in your wildlife-friendly garden or landscape. Plants provide food to wildlife in a wide variety of ways, from berries to nuts to nectar, even the insects they support that feed other animals. Even dead trees can provide food by attracting insects, mosses, lichens, fungi, and this dead work becomes a cafeteria for wildlife looking for a snack. Many species need different food at different stages in their life. Hummingbirds, for example, need nectar and regular doses of protein from mosquitoes, spiders, and gnats to round out their diet. Other birds may only eat seeds or fruit.
Dead trees provide a vital habitat for more than 1,000 species of wildlife. They also count as cover and places for wildlife to raise their young in the requirements for the certification of wildlife habitat. It's important that if you have a dead tree on your property that you leave it standing. It provides a nesting spot for many birds of prey. It also allows animals like the woodpecker to drill in to get the worms and the insects that are in there. Mr. Owl could make a home in a part of that tree, that snag. We have the fungus that grows on the sides of the trees. We have earthworms that burrow into the logs that are laying on the ground, that decompose it to re-nourish our lawns and our earth.
Gardeners can play a key role in restoring lost habitat of host plants and trees for many butterflies and moths. Discovering which caterpillar foods you can bring to your garden to support new interesting butterflies and moths lets you try new native flowering plants. Most butterflies and moths only rely on certain plants, shrubs, and trees to feed their young. Some examples are the monarch caterpillars, that they eat milkweed leaves, which the plant toxins are safe for caterpillars but poisonous to its predators. The Henry's elfin likes redbud, Yopon hollies, viburnum, and blueberries. Black swallowtail likes parsley, dill, and fennel. Eastern tiger swallowtail likes wild black cherry, ash, tulip tree, and willow. The great purple hairstreak likes mistletoe. The Gulf fritillary likes maypops and passion vines. Painted lady likes thistles, and the silver-spotted skipper likes locusts, wisteria, and legumes.
Many birds and small mammals rely on the late summer and fall harvest of berries and seeds. The best winter fruiting plants for wildlife are native trees and shrubs. Many of these plants also serve as host plants for butterflies and provide nectar and pollen for many pollinators. Birds that rely on insects in the summer often turn to berries when the weather turns cold. As a wildlife gardener, you can help wildlife have a year-round bounty by leaving the seed heads and berries intact while still weeding. Winter flower stalks also provide wildlife with places to seek refuge from storms and predators, and insects pass the winter in the dead stalks. These berries are native to the coastal region of North Carolina, the American persimmons, blueberries, elderberries, pawpaws, raspberries, and serviceberries. Many shrubs and trees provide year-round beauty in the landscape while providing a needed food source for wildlife, such as the American beautyberry, holly, sumac, hackberry, blackhaw, nannyberry, bayberry, wax myrtle, red Caesar, juniper, and hawthorn, and also sweet gum, and you've probably stepped on these little guys before. You don't need a big garden to help wildlife. If you have a balcony and a flower pot, you can plant these little sunflowers to provide seeds for our birds in the winter.
There is so much that we can do for wildlife. I mean, planting a native tree is something very important, as a native tree can become a very important food source for our birds and small mammals. Now, exactly what can a native tree do? Well, depending on the tree, of course, but they can provide seeds, berries, fruits, or nuts. Yum, I would say. And it's not just the exterior of the tree. You go deep within the tree also. Underneath the bark are little bugs and insects, and way in the ground with the root system are lots of worms. Mama loves those worms to bring to her baby birds. And at the end of the tree's life, when it's laying on the ground decaying, it will actually be another food source for our wildlife, as moss and fungi and additional worms and bugs will start making that its home, turning it sort of into a smorgasbord for our birds and small mammals. Yum.
Bird feeders are a great way to attract birds to your property. You should begin with 3 different types of feeders. Most basic is a feeder that will feed black oil sunflower seeds. Many birds relish these seeds. Your chickadees, your titmice, cardinals will love it, as well as a variety of other seed-eating birds. After you have established the black oil sunflower feeder, you might want to also consider a suet feeder. Suet is a mixture of animal fat, peanut butter, cornmeal, and often seeds added to it to make a cake. These cakes can be placed in a wire basket type feeder, and they are attractive to the insect-eating birds in your yard. The woodpeckers, the warblers, the wrens, and even some of the seed eaters will also come and enjoy the suet at a suet feeder. The third type of feeder that you should consider is a hummingbird feeder. These are usually small cylindrical feeders that house sugar water. You can buy sugar water already mixed, or you can make your own by simply mixing 4 heaping teaspoonsful of sugar and a cup of water. Place it in the feeder, and hummingbirds will find this and will sip on it as an alternate to their nectar that they normally feed on from flowers. These 3 feeder types will attract a variety of birds to your yard, and they're the basics. Once you get those going, you may want to expand a bit with some specialty feeders. Some folks along the immediate coast like to put up a tube feeder filled with white millet. This will attract painted bunnies, one of the most brilliant of our coastal birds. Most of the other birds don't seem to like the millet, so the painted bunnies typically have it to themselves. Everybody likes to have bluebirds in their yard, and they don't typically come to bird feeders. But we found out in recent years that if you establish a feeder and place in it dried mealworms of all things, bluebirds will come to the feeders regularly, and you can enjoy their presence at your feeder. With these kinds of feeders, you'll attract a variety of birds to your yard throughout the year. In the wintertime, you may get different species than in the summertime, but you'll always have a crowd of birds around your feeders most of the time. The only problem you have if you live in a yard that has squirrels, then you're going to have competition. Squirrels also love black oil sunflower seeds, and they love suet. So you should establish a pattern of keeping the squirrels away from your feeders. Be aware, however, that squirrels are very persistent and very athletic, and it takes a real serious effort to keep them from your feeders. Some feeders are designed to prevent squirrels from being able to access them, and some of those may actually work. Some don't. So when you start to fight the squirrels, make sure you go full-fledged from the very beginning. Don't go halfway with it, and try to keep the squirrels away from your feeders, as, for example, with the feeder here, with a large cone above it that will prevent squirrels from climbing down to the feeder. But whatever you do, you're going to enjoy the birds, you'll attract them to your yard. If you place your feeders where you can easily see them from the windows of your house, then you will also be able to enjoy your birds in more detail and be more familiar with their daily patterns than you can without the feeders. They're very helpful. They also will enhance your enjoyment of the squirrels a great deal. I recommend bird feeders to everyone who wants birds in their yard.